I've gone from this to this in 4 years. I've been very successful in my gym journey, so you can rest assured that I do know what I'm talking about and that you're not going to just receive some advice that doesn't actually work. In the last 5 years of going to the gym, I've injured my neck, shoulder, calf, knee, elbows, and hip. All of these injuries were preventable, and I'm here to tell you how you can prevent these injuries and basically any injury that you are suffering from with a few simple tips. Some things that I've learned over time through years of trial and error, and there is one tip that will literally solve any injury that you have, and I'm going to tell you about it in this video. So I've done it all. I've made every single mistake that you can make in the gym. I've pulled, twisted, torn, ruptured every single muscle you could probably think of, and I learned that all of those things, in retrospect, looking back on it, were actually preventable. I know personally that there is nothing worse than suffering from these injuries, and even worse, the niggles, the ones that you just can't seem to get over, and every time you do an exercise in the gym, they flare up and they stunt your progress. They stop you from doing the things that you want to do. I hate that feeling. It's a debilitating weakness, because even though you may look like you're lifting a lot of weight or look good, you know that there are these underlying things you just can't seem to overcome. I've had 2 massive injuries. I've dislocated my shoulder, I needed surgery on it, and I've also ruptured my Achilles, which I needed surgery on that as well. These 2, although they were preventable, they weren't done in the gym. The ones that I've done in the gym are the ones that you need to take weeks off, and even though it's just a few weeks that I need to take off doing a certain movement, or maybe if it's because I've had really bad tennis elbow, for example, I need to take weeks off doing like pushing movements. It's terrible. It's the worst thing, you know, that like those pains that they're not even that bad, but when you start doing the exercise, you realize, oh fuck, this isn't going well. I've gone from this to this in 4 years. I've been very successful in my gym journey, so you can rest assured that I do know what I'm talking about and that you're not going to just receive some advice that doesn't actually work. I've defeated all my niggles and injuries from what I'm about to teach you in this video. Don't fall into that trap, because all injuries are preventable. Some people might say the RICE method, rest, ice, compress, elevate or something. It does work for some, but for some you can't just ice and rest, you've got to work through them. But there are some exercises that you can do to make sure that you roll over these and never worry about them ever again. All injuries are preventable, I fully believe that. And take that from me, considering that I have made big mistakes in the past. I'm going to go right into the secret and basically the gold dust bit of advice that you need to take away from this video. If you have an injury or if you have a pain somewhere, it's not because of tightness. You might feel tight, but tightness is the way that the body protects itself from weakness. So if you have pain, for example, in the front of your shoulder, stretching the front of your shoulder like this and like this is not going to help. It might help temporarily, but it's not going to help in the long run. The key is getting stronger in the reverse of the movement that hurts. This is very simple, and if you apply this to anything, it will help, I can guarantee. Now, as well as doing your pushing exercises, so getting strong in this plane of motion, you need to get strong in this plane of motion as well. And there are some specific exercises that I have found that are the best for shoulder pain, for example, which I will go into in a bit. So the secret of destroying all of your injuries and niggles is working the reverse of the movement that hurts. Especially with me, who has hypermobility, so I'm super flexible, it's really important to be strong in basically all areas. So if I'm really strong here, I need to be really strong here too. So if I'm really strong forwards, I need to be really strong backwards. I've learned this the hard way, so you don't have to. Just to quickly say, all of this information is absolutely useless if you carry around excess fat. If you're carrying around 10 kilos of excess fat, for example, it's like going about your life with a weighted vest. It makes everything harder and it increases the chance of injury. So if that's a problem for you, then go click the link in the description titled Dummy's Guide to Fat Loss. It's an ebook that runs you through step by step on how to unfuck your fat loss for good. It's a crash course for beginners, so it's very simple. The link is in the description for the Dummies crash course on fat loss. So let's go into the actionable steps. Let's run through the specific exercises that you can do using this concept of working the reverse of the movement that hurts. So if you have, for example, knee pain, if you have pain when you squat, then we need to reverse that movement and get really strong there to ensure that you have the capacity to push in the squatting movement. So let's start with some steps and I'll run you through them step by step. So using the concept of working the reverse of the movement that hurts, this is the most important thing. This is the basis of what we're going to do to optimize all these injuries, to avoid them from happening again. So if currently, for example, you have shoulder pain, one of the most common probably niggles, maybe when you bench press. So say, for example, using this arrow and this annotation, your bench pressing is like this. So you're really strong pushing, and you do this over time, weeks, months go by, and eventually you start noticing a pain. This arrow, see this big arrow represents your strength pushing, your strength in the bench press, but this arrow represents your strength pulling. So bench pressing, you use internal rotation, which is basically the muscles that you use in your shoulder to push. External rotation, which is the opposite, is the muscles that you use to externally rotate, like this, externally rotate your arms. So this is the arrow. This is the arrow that represents the strength of your external rotation. So we just need to make this bigger. We need to make this arrow bigger so that these two balance out. It's simple. I hope this isn't overcomplicating it. So I'll go over the 3 exercises that I would prescribe for the 3 most common niggles to give you a rough idea of how you can structure it if you have some other pain, for example. So shoulders and knees. I'm going to run through 3 exercises that you can do for your shoulders and your knees, because these are probably some of the most common areas that you'd experience discomfort. I know I have in both of these really bad shoulder discomfort and really bad knee discomfort. Taking the example of shoulder pain, I found that the single best exercise for me has been face pulls. Now, specifically doing this with 2 ropes, because I found that with 2 ropes you can get more external rotation. 1 rope is a bit like this, but 2 ropes you can get like that. There's a great video on Athlean X on YouTube that shows you how to do this, that I've found this from. So shoulders, face pulls is one of the best examples that you can use, because if you think about it, you're getting really strong like in this position. You're getting really strong here, where you don't really train that often, because you normally train probably like that and like this, but you're not really getting strong this way. Now, getting strong that way ensures that you have that stability and you strengthen those muscles to push hard, horizontally and vertically, and pull vertically and horizontally as well. So this is one of the best ones that I've found. Face pulls, put this in if you have shoulder pain, put this into your routine. Specifically do it before you push. So before you do a pushing movement, do these face pulls. Now, going on to knee, there is 2 that I found have really helped me. The first one is tib raises. Now, this is just body weight, so he's just leaning against the thing and moving his ankles up. Basically, your tib muscle is the muscle in the front of your shin, and that strengthens, from what I learned from the knees over toes guy, who's very keen on backwards sledding, and we're going to get into this here. He's very keen on like your tib raises, your backwards sledding. He's got crazy mobility. You might have seen him. But the tibs are basically the first line of defense. That's what he says. They're the first line of defense when you are doing anything. Running, jumping, walking, squatting, whatever. So if you're strong in your shin, so if we do a little drawing, and this is a little guy, and that's his knee, and he's having knee pain. And if he's strong here, then it offloads some of the tension that is here. So being strong in your tibs will indirectly help your knee pain, even though you're not directly focusing on the knee. To directly focus on the knee is sled pulls. So this one is another one from the knees over toes guy. You're basically, what you're doing is you're getting a sled and you're walking backwards. You can either hold onto the sled or just attach something across your belt and walk backwards like that. Basically what this does is the same works with backwards treadmill. What this does is puts a lot of blood into your VMO muscles. So those are basically the muscles on the inside of your knee, and that allows getting that blood in there, basically bulletproofs your knees before any movement without actually requiring much from your knees. Because when you walk backwards, it's a movement that you probably have never done before. Walking backwards, you always walk forward, you're always running, squatting, jumping, sprinting, jumping. I said jumping twice, but you're always using that forward momentum. You're never working backwards. So it's the same concept of, I had that Uno reverse card up. It's the same thing of working the reverse. So you work the backwards movement. You're walking backwards instead of walking forwards. Getting strong here, put a lot of weight on it. Do this for 5 minutes. I sometimes do this 5 minutes before my leg day, before a heavy lower like squat or something. And doing this before just fills your legs with so much blood that you will probably see no like knee discomfort if you've had it for a long time, for at least an hour. Now, obviously, you need to progressively overload through the weeks, stuff we've discussed in different videos. But this is a good one to start off with. Start off your lower sessions with. I remember doing this before, like squatting like 180 kilos and felt absolutely fine. So this is a very good one to do. Now, those are some ideas of ways that you can like incorporate the exercises that you can do. But how would you actually structure it? So I'll show you now how you can structure how you can program your sessions to revolve around these exercises. I'm not saying take a break from, for example, if you have shoulder pain, I'm not saying stop doing shoulder stuff, obviously not. But if you get strong in that reverse, you need to kind of be quite strategic with how you organize this stuff to make sure that when you do pressing movements, you're optimizing the face pulls, for basically. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is how I've structured it and how I've seen great success from structuring it this way. So say you have your session Monday or whatever. You have maybe 3 big exercises to do. Maybe you're following a 5x5 program, something that I ran you through 2 videos ago to optimize strength and size. So say, for example, you start Monday with, if you're doing, all right, so let's say that we have 3 exercises to do on Monday. We have incline bench, we have front squat, and we have pull-ups. What is that? So we have 3 big exercises, 5x5 each one. So this is how I would structure it. So I would begin, we need to do these 3 exercises, so we need a peak strength-wise for all these 3 exercises. So what I would do is, we're starting with incline bench, but before that I'll do face pulls. So I'm activating these muscles here to activate those muscles there to get really strong pushing that way. So I'll start with face pulls. Like I say, I can't write today. So I'll start with face pulls, and then I will go on to one of the main lifts. So one of these 3 main lifts, I'll go on to the incline bench. Third exercise, we've got front squat. But before front squat, I'm going to do some accessory work. So I'm probably going to do backwards sled. So I'm going to do this. So I'm going to do backwards sled. Then I'm going to do the front squat to warm myself up for that. So because I got a ton of blood into the quads, I'm going to do it then. And sorry, I haven't really mapped this out very well. So for number 5, you got pull-ups. And because, for example, in this example, I've never had pain doing pull-ups, I'm probably just going to warm up for pull-ups with some dead hangs or something. So we're doing all these main lifts. So we've got main lift here, main lift here, main lift here. The way you structure it is, basically we have these accessories, right? So these injury prevention exercises that you do before that main exercise that you've had maybe some pain or discomfort in. This just allows you to optimize these, specifically these 2 because we're doing these accessories before, but it allows you to optimize those exercises for when you do them, instead of just running into them cold and without actually strengthening this way and just pushing and pushing, and that's how you get pain. Because when you're pushing, imagine that when you're doing an incline bench, you're pushing and you're every single set you get more rounded and rounded and rounded. You're not activating these muscles that pull your shoulders back. So you're doing so much of that, and you're going to put so much strain on the front of your shoulders that it's just, you're not balancing it out. The yin yang, we got to balance everything that we're doing. So that's the core concept of what this is. That is some fucking gold dust. So structure it: accessory, main lift, accessory, main lift, accessory, main lift, alternating. You're not going to go incline bench 5 sets of 5 into front squat. You'll fucking die. Something that I have done before, so don't do it like that. Right, those are some actionable steps. Some other tips I would recommend before I wrap up are 2 simple tips that you could use to optimize and to stop injury prevention. Number 1 is form. Now, every time I have an injury flare up, I know that it's because my form goes to shit. And it might not even be a huge difference, but it just is that I'm not focusing on some important form cues that I say in my mind when I'm doing an exercise that lead to injuries or niggles, more so niggles. It's not really putting me out of training, but just stunting my progress a bit. So form is important. When you have an exercise, so for example, for me, I have a few exercises on my phone. I have got a few form cues that I need to follow. So keep 2 or 3 form cues for each exercise. Keep it simple. 2 or 3 form cues. And 2, we're going to make sure that you're controlling the eccentric and even the concentric as well. So the eccentric is the negative portion of the movement. So you're doing a bench press, it's this part, the way that the weight comes down. Count 2 or 3 seconds on the eccentric. Simple. So that you don't just fuck it up by just going down super fast. That's how you fuck up yourself. That's all. If you would like a free one-to-one call to help structure either a 5x5 program or a route to unfuck your life, or pretty much anything gym related, then there's a free link in the description. That's all for now. Until next time. Bye.